Cool. So at this point, we are able to navigate to index.html and hello.html. So if we haven't been able to get to that point, the way that we're going to do that is, as usual, just press this green run button. Then we can go here, then preview running application. Now it says the requested URL cannot be found. So if we look at the app.py, then we're going to see our routing tells us to go to index.html or hello.html. So instead of the slash, which is what our usual app.route is, we're just going to go here and go to index.html. And now we're seeing the page. So now we're seeing index.html here. And then similarly, we're going to see hello.html here. If we just plug that in, then that's all we see. So I'm literally just going into this URL, and then where it's had slash before, I'm just going in and manually typing index.html. And then same with out of the browser, out here. If we're here, then see how it says index.html here? If we just go out and change that to hello.html, then we'll see what we're looking for. So now let's do something fancy in JavaScript. Let's add a button. Nothing too fancy, but let's make something happen. So let's make a new button and say, this is an awesome button. Cool. So this is in my hello.html. So again, I'm gonna make sure I have debug true here, so I don't have to rerun this if I have debug equals true here. Then I'm gonna go in here, I'm gonna refresh it. Index.html doesn't change, but we made a change to hello.html. So now we should see a button. So all I did was add this button tag that said this is an awesome button. Right now, this button doesn't do anything. So if I click this, nothing happens. So since we only know how to do one thing in JavaScript right now, which is do an alert, let's add an alert. So the way that we're going to add an alert is we need to uniquely identify the button, first of all. So let's name this awesome button. And of course, the name should be descriptive to what the button is. So like, if it's a button that usually is like a continue button, then we should name it a continue button. Because I don't have a description, or like this is the description basically, we're going to name it the awesome button. Now what we're going to do is set up a click handler within JavaScript. And the way that we do that is this really cool idea of using the DOM. So the DOM, again, is the document object model. And what we're going to see for the DOM is if I open this up and we view the page source, this is the DOM. This whole thing with the HTML and all of these tags, that's called the DOM. So let's go into that DOM, and then we can have this really cool method inside of JavaScript that says get element by ID. It's really fast and very efficient. So what we're going to do is do document.getElementById, by ID, whatever our element was named. So I'm just going to copy and paste it to avoid any typos. And then you do a dot, and then you can type in onClick. So then this is how you set the onClick method for your element. And then we're going to assign this a function. So this is a JavaScript function, just like before. And then let's go ahead and call something inside of here. I clicked the button. Cool, something like this. And then let's do that because again, we want to end all of our commands with semicolons. All right, let's refresh this and see if this works. So we see that hello world alert right up here, but we're not seeing this iClick button. We're expecting to see that when we click on this. And it didn't work. So let's figure out why it didn't work. So the way that we're going to debug this is we're going to pop this out into our other window. And then let's go ahead and inspect this. And then one thing that you can see once you start inspecting it is if you go onto this tab for console, you'll be able to see all the errors. So let's click on this. I'm not seeing any errors yet. Now let's go ahead and go into our static here and then go to hello.js and see what's in here. It's only saying alert hello world right now, so it looks like it didn't actually reload the page and it's using my cache stuff. So let's go ahead and refresh everything. So I did a Control-Shift-R to do a hard refresh, or Command-Shift-R. It's still not working. So now let's go and inspect things. And now let's go into the console. And now it's saying cannot set property on click of null. That's really interesting, right? So if we go into hello.js, it's saying it can't set this property on click on this null, which means that this is a null element. So now you can actually use this handy dandy console here to see what this looks like. This isn't null, right? This actually shows up. So something weird is going on. And the way that I'm going to debug this is just go on to Stack Overflow and search I'm actually going to search the error itself. Cannot set property on click of null, and then I'm gonna leave some descriptions like JavaScript button. And then I'm just gonna click on this first link and see what's going on. Let's just jump right down to here. It says the problem seems to be that you are executing the script before the element is loaded. So the script is loaded in a file. Okay, that's exactly what we have. We have a file with the script loaded, and then this function is being called, which is added before the DOM is created. So there must be some order where we're creating this DOM, and then we're also loading these scripts. But the script is loading before the DOM exists, so that element doesn't actually exist. So the solution here is to execute the script after the DOM is ready, like this. So it looks like all they're doing is saying window.onload equals function, and then putting their code inside of there. And interestingly enough, this person is also doing an alert inside of there. So we should be able to just copy and paste this. So I'm going to copy and paste this entire thing and bring it over to my JavaScript. So we don't want to kill this alert. Let's just go ahead and change that. And then get element by ID, we want to use our element ID. So that's awesome button. Great. So now, and then let's make this what it was before. This is so cool, something like that. And now let's try refreshing it. Still not working, so let's try clearing the cache again. And now if we click this, we're expecting that this works. Awesome, there we go. So what I wanted to do with this demo is demonstrate two different things. So the first thing is obviously how to create a button and then use that button in order to do different things like DOM manipulation. So we're taking an element from the DOM and then we're adding an onClick method, and then once we click on that, it's doing some function, some arbitrary JavaScript code that's running inside of here. Actually, there's three things that I wanted to cover. So that was the first thing, which is adding an onClick method or manipulating the DOM in some way using JavaScript. We were able to do that. The second thing I wanted to demonstrate is inside of JavaScript, how you actually have to, like the fact that JavaScript actually means that you might have to reload the page. So in order to see JavaScript changes, you might have to do a hard refresh, Control-Shift-R, of the actual browser window. And then lastly, the third thing is when you come into an error where something isn't working the way you expect it to, how do we actually debug that? Instead of just saying, I don't know what it is, and immediately going on Slack or asking someone else, figuring out what the error is. And the way we do that, again, in JavaScript, is we go here, we inspect these elements, we can go to our console, see if there's any errors, go into that error, and then Google that error and find out what's going on, because there's a lot of people who've probably seen similar errors to us.